For nearly 40 years, this story didn't exist. It was just whispers between old men, burned letters, and recurring nightmares. It was a mission with no name, stamped classified in red ink, and buried so deep that even families were told nothing. Until now. In the winter of 1983, the Cold War was a knife's edge. One wrong move, and the world could plunge into chaos. In a windowless room somewhere in the American Midwest, 12 men were briefed on a mission so sensitive that their unit patches were removed. No photos, no dog tags, no goodbyes. If they failed, they were told it never happened. Their objective was terrifyingly simple: retrieve a defecting scientist from behind the Iron Curtain. This scientist held proof of a covert weapons program that could shatter the global balance of power. The catch? He was under constant surveillance, and the extraction had to happen during a 12-minute window when satellite coverage went dark. 12 minutes to rewrite history. The team flew on false flight plans, landing on a frozen airstrip not found on any map. They traveled in unmarked trucks, disappearing into the cold, dark night. Radios were forbidden. Light was forbidden. Even names were forbidden. They called each other by numbers, a way to strip away identity and make the immense risk more bearable. At 2:17 a.m., they reached the safe house, a bleak concrete building with a single yellow light in the window. The signal inside the scientist was frantic. His hands shook as he explained that neighbors had been asking questions. Someone knew. The team leader glanced at his watch. 9 minutes left, and then everything went wrong. Headlights swept across the street. A car slowed. Doors opened. Voices echoed far too close. Without a word, the team split, their movements a silent, well-rehearsed dance. One man disabled the vehicle. Another guided the scientists through a back stairwell as falling snow swallowed their footprints. By the time they neared the extraction point, their 12-minute window had shrunk to less than 4. Suddenly, a flare shot into the sky, a bright, unexpected signal. Enemy patrols were closing in. The order came through: abandon the scientist. It was an order that could end careers or lives if disobeyed, but the team leader shook his head. They had come too far. Leaving now meant failure, and the consequences were unthinkable. They pushed forward. Gunfire shattered the silence. One man went down, hit in the leg, but he refused evacuation until the scientist was safe. Another took his place at the rear, buying precious seconds with every step he took. When the aircraft finally lifted off, its wheels nearly skimmed the treetops. Below, tracers lit up the darkness, and then there was only sky. Back home, there were no parades, no medals. The wounded man was told his injury happened during a training exercise. Families were warned never to ask questions. The scientist vanished into protective custody, his discoveries absorbed into secret programs that would never bear his name. And the men? They became teachers, mechanics, office workers. Some drank too much, some spoke too little. If anyone asked about their service, they'd just smile and change the subject. The mission was locked away, not just in government vaults, but in their own minds. Decades passed. The world changed. Walls fell. Old enemies became uneasy allies, and slowly documents began to surface. The mission, once denied, was finally acknowledged. When the files were declassified, historians were stunned. The scientist's information had delayed a catastrophic weapons system by years that allowed treaties to be signed and tensions to cool. It was a global catastrophe that never made headlines because it never happened. At a small, private ceremony, the truth was spoken aloud for the first time. The team leader, his hair now white, stood before his men and said what none of them had ever allowed themselves to believe. We didn't know if it would matter. We just knew it was right. For decades, the mission was a ghost. But its impact was real, etched into the history that could have been. Some missions don't need monuments, and some heroes don't need names. Their stories just wait classified and silent until the world is finally ready to hear them. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy stories like this, be sure to subscribe for more.